Moments, a podcast from St. Anthony on the Desert here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm Will Strong.
I'm Jill Kyler.
And today we usually talk about fun stuff that always is fun.
This is fun.
This is fun. This is very fun. Because we are in the season of Lent.
Yes, we are. Halfway.
Halfway through. It's the time between Ash Wednesday and Holy Saturday before Easter. So 40 days, not counting Sundays.
No, Sundays are feast days.
That's right.
Yeah.
That represent the time leading up to Jesus' crucifixion. Mm-hmm. So we look at a time of growth and renewal. Some people give something up. Some people engage in something or a combination. So what about you? What about you, Jill?
Well,
you just jumped right in today.
Yes, this year, for one of our small groups that we have here at St. Anthony, we are using a book on forgiveness, Living Well Through Lent. And this is by the Living Compass people. And it had so many good things in it that we just wanted to talk about it and share. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things they talk about is the idea that during Lent, you always thought you had to give something up. So Lent was always like, I'm not going to be able to have chocolate for 40 days, but I can have it on Sunday. But I won't be able to have it the other days. And it kind of defeats the purpose of Lent, which is for renewal. And so now there's, especially with using this book, there's more of a focus on, well, what's your goal? And it's hopefully to make something better, not to just make yourself miserable because you can't eat chocolate. So this year, I have decided just to emphasize the things that I've been trying to do, the good habits, and just doing more of them, which kind of edges out the bad habits. Well, how about you? What are you going to be doing?
So I have been doing, following along with the Living Compass things, and it's been nice. I've done several of the Lenten walks that we've been doing, and in the mornings, and the people that we've been walking with have just had some really good stories.
Well, talk more about this.
So what we're doing is we're doing this on the way to Jerusalem, and it's from St. Anthony all the way to Jerusalem, and it's a virtual journey. So people who walk, run, all that good stuff. We've also included people who pray and gardening and things like that, something that just connects us to God. And what we've been doing is just logging it on the website. And it's been every Sunday, Canon Holly adds it to our map, and we make a way to somewhere cool. We learn about that little spot, and then we go from there. And so one of the things that we've been doing is Monday through Friday, at 8 a.m. in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon, we have about a 1.25 mile walk up to the park and back. And that's just a time you can be in prayer. We read the devotional, and then we go for a walk and just kind of talk about the material. And it's been very, just some of the stories that have come from it have been really heartwarming and dealing and learning and discussing about what forgiveness looks like and what it means. And that's a hard one. Forgiveness is really tough for some people, and myself included. But I've really enjoyed the conversations that we've been having with, and not just even at our, not just at the walks, but also at Christian formation tables on Sunday afternoon, Sunday after church, and some really good discussions. And so, and then of course, just reading through, doing some morning prayer has been a huge benefit as well.
And what we've kind of been talking about too on my Thursday night group is that forgiveness is really a gift to us. That when you don't forgive, a lot of times you're not bothering the other person at all, but you're carrying around this angst and anxiety and anger, and it just zaps you.
It really does.
And then you can start to not be well, on every level, physical, spiritual, emotional. And so if you look at forgiveness as a gift to yourself and that it can improve all these different areas of your life, why would you not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Easier said than done.
So much easier said than done.
Yes.
For sure. And, it's funny as I think about, sometimes there are, one of the questions we have here are some of the barriers in our lives that kind of hinder us from our offering forgiveness. And, I think a lot of it for me comes down to, I just don't want to do the work sometimes.
Yeah.
It really, sometimes forgiveness is a choice, and I know that. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you just don't want to. And so through this journey that we've been doing, and a lot of it is through prayer, chatting with other people, working with people, just having, just learning about ways to be able to kind of remove those barriers from our lives.
Right.
So it's interesting, talking about forgiveness and sometimes having to kind of, there's always this, I like the word used, tension between receiving forgiveness and extending it to others. I feel sometimes for us to receive it, we really have to extend it to others. It's like you give a gift and you're given a gift of that. The only person that can make a change in a relationship is us. Especially when, like you mentioned earlier, if we need to forgive somebody, they're not going to, they could give 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I don't know if that's the right word, but
we know what you mean.
We know they don't care, that you haven't. And so you're the one stewing. And so having to navigate that tension can be very tough, but also realizing that it is a choice. And you had mentioned, it affects our emotional and spiritual well-being.
Right. And, a lot of people who say, I can't forgive because I can't forget. Yeah. And forgetting is not part of the equation. Because you can actually turn a bad situation around to where you go, I'm so angry, I cannot forgive this person. But what can you take from the situation? Can you learn more about boundaries? Can you learn more about your own personal safety? But what can you take away from this situation? And by forgiving the person, you're moving on.
Yeah.
You're not being held back in this situation that what might have been horrible for you. Yeah. You're finding new ways of coping, new ways of acting, new ways of reacting. Yeah. And by forgiving, you can keep that in your past, you can move on, but you'll always remember because it was a huge learning point for you. Yeah. So there's a way of kind of gleaning the good out of bad situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out of really bad situations.
For sure. It's funny. It's been said that forgiveness isn't just a virtue; that it's also a reflection of our relationship with God and others. How do you take that, Jill?
Well, I think we were just talking about it on Sunday. Will and I do the live streaming on Sunday, and we were thinking about this podcast, and we were talking about some words that are said during our service during different seasons of right before we take communion, that before you come to take communion, you go and you settle all your issues that you have with your brothers and sisters, which means all of us, all of the world. And don't come to the altar until you've done that, because we come to the altar to ask God for forgiveness, to take part in his body and blood. And we need to set things right with ourselves because, as you said, that's the only change we can make, is the change in ourselves. To expect someone else to change because that's what we want them to, or we think that's the right thing to do, is a waste of time, a waste of energy. And so I think that we kind of jump to seeing fault in others, which may be even a larger fault in ourselves. And that might be why we notice them, because it's part of us that we don't like, and we just don't want to go there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but then the other thing too is with forgiving, you can't always deal with a person face to face or however you want to communicate. They may have died. It may be something in your past that you have to come to some sort of reconciliation and move on because it's not doing you a bit of good.
Nope, absolutely, for sure. You know, and it's such a good point, and it's, yeah. And you kind of talked about this. You know, forgiveness doesn't really mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean we have to forget. And it just means
none of that.
No, and you had some good point here about, we have notes, by the way. That's what we're looking at.
We don't want to miss anything.
Exactly. So that's why we're looking at our notes right here. And it's important to remember that, you know, forgiveness isn't a one-all, be-all. Great. You're forgiven. It's forgiven. It is an ongoing, and it requires grace, grace with yourself, grace with other people. Grace with the person or peoples or things that may have hurt you in the past. And it moves towards that healing.
Yeah.
You know, a way of living in our world that they need us. They need us to, we all need each other, and we all need each other to heal. And we do that through forgiveness.
We do. And I think the last thing that we really need to understand and pay attention to is that we need to learn how to forgive ourselves.
Absolutely.
We can be so hard on ourselves where everything that is going along fairly well, and then we mess up. And that's part of the human condition. It's just the way it is, and that's also the way we learn. If we didn't mess up, if we just went along happily through life, you know, no speed bumps whatsoever, you'd think that you had everything under control when you didn't learn anything, didn't learn a thing. So we really have to be gentle with ourselves and be a best friend to ourselves, which instead of being our worst critic, that voice, you know, in your head telling you how you screwed up.
Exactly.
So don't forget to do that. Forgiving yourself is so important.
Yes.
But here we are halfway through Lent. I'm excited to see where the rest of this study is going to go. I know my group has really gotten into this. We're really excited about it. And it's relieved a lot of tension as far as forgiving old hurts, old wounds that no one else even remembers. Yeah. Only we do.
So, Jill, can people still join your group if they're interested?
Oh, sure. That's not a problem.
Perfect.
Thursday, go on our website.
That's right.
st-anthony.net, and we'd love to have you. And the conversation is open and good, and we'd love to see you there.
And be sure to check out our Holy Week schedule. And we'd love to have you here.
We have a lot going on.
It's a beautiful week.
Yeah.
And we are so thankful for you, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Anything else, Jill?
That's it. I forgive you.
I forgive you. Be blessed.